All right, shalom, shalom. I want to start off this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the bishops, a great millstone that rule well, that teach well, why learn is true, 100% according to the Bible. And I also want to say shalom to the elect, the 144,000 men, the prophets, the servants scattered abroad the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the Akwaf, which are the sisters that are sincere, and your children, shalom. And then today's video is going to be something that I seen. It's 7 days old, but, I seen this video and the spirit was on me to, basically make a video about this, because all of these things that we see, the laws being passed, the unrighteous decrees and things of that nature, is obviously going to point to the times in which we're about to come into, the times of Jacob's trouble, the race wars, the class wars, civil wars, all of these laws and things that this current administration is setting in place, and either the past administrations is all leading up to the times that we're about to come into, right? So I'm gonna read the title of this video. It says, DOJ issues interim rule opens door for those with criminal convictions to own pew-pews, right? You see it. And I'm gonna get into this video. We're gonna watch a little of it. It's only 2 minutes long, so this might be a quick hit, but Lord's will is edifying to you, brothers and sisters, through the Spirit. So I'm going to start off this video by saying this is under the 1976 Copyright Act, that I'm not getting paid for this video. This is only for educational purposes only. So with that being said, Lord's will, you're edified, right? Fair use. I'm going to start this video. And I'll probably get a few precepts, Lord's will.
Restoring gun rights to those with criminal convictions. The Justice Department is looking to authorize a decades-old law giving individuals with criminal backgrounds an opportunity to buy firearms. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joining us. Jeff, so an interim rule published today in the Federal Register, that's a key piece to all of this. Tell us more.
So the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Dede, has the power to restore gun rights, but the agency has been blocked from doing so under congressional appropriations dating back to 1992. This rule creates a pathway to process those applications, but instead of the ATF, the DOJ will now be in charge. Pamela C., a legal expert, tells us the interim final rule follows an executive order from President Trump last month directing a review of the country's gun restrictions. The Second Amendment is one of the...
And all of this goes into what it talks about in the book of Isaiah, chapter 19, right? And I'm about to get that precept, Lord's will. Bear with me, right? This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2, and it says, and I, that I being Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, because we understood, as the Lord have said, he's the one creating all things. He's the one that's putting, let me go to that. I'm going to go to Salaki. I'm going to come back to that precept, but I got to go to this one. Proverbs 21 and verse 1. Then I'll get back to that Isaiah, right? It said the king's heart, right? Meaning his mind, the lab, is in the hands of the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So you see why these people are now passing laws that they could have been passed in the 90s. Like they said, this was once on the board in the early 90s, but they didn't pass it because it wasn't the time yet. But now seeing that we're coming into the times of Jacob's trouble, these race wars and all of these things that are about to pop up, the Lord is allowing these things to be able to be made possible, He's putting it on these legislations, these people that are in control of the laws and the people that are passing things, because ultimately the Lord puts it on the man's mind, right, to pass these things. And the Lord has to allow it before it happens. Nothing happens on this earth without the Lord orchestrating it or allowing it to happen. We must understand that. So all of these things are ultimately going to be into what I was about to read earlier. I'm going to go back to it. Isaiah 19, verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, right? Which are you Babylonians, you Americans, man. When that sedition among men happened, when these race wars, these class wars in the times of Jacob's trouble, you're going to have people, going against one another, man, And I'm going to keep reading. It says, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, right? And everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom, right? And that's what they're about to do, man. That's why they're allowing this legislation to be passed to where people can access guns that are, convicted felons or whatnot. They're making all of these things possible because they know what time is about to happen. It's about to be civil unrest and a lot of distress and a lot of chaos happening in America, man. Babylon the Great. And these governments and these politicians and these people in high places, they know that. So and ultimately this is part of their depopulation agenda. They want a lot of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, who are the main majority of the felons who are going to be getting in possession of these weapons. They want you to, delete each other. And that's ultimately what they're going to allow to happen, man. And this is all Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is doing, As it says in the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 6, shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city? And the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, have not done it. So that's letting you know that the Lord is orchestrating these things to happen. And this is all going to lead up to, that time that have never before been seen, nor ever shall be, that great tribulation that the Lord talks about in St. Matthew 24 and 21, that for then shall be great tribulation, such as not since the beginning of this time, nor ever shall be. So that's why we're seeing all of these wicked decrees being passed, these laws where you're able to have people that are, criminals to be able to have possession of weapons, violent offenders and people like that. It's about to get real serious out here, man. But like I said, this is all the Lord's doing. He's controlling these things, So I'm going to get back into this video, and we're going to continue watching just a little bit that's left of it. Like I said, this ain't going to be too much of a long video. It's just a little update, a little quick hit.
The Second Amendment is one of the most important ones we have. Therefore, we need to have a way to reinstate persons' civil rights, which would include firearms.
According to the DOJ,
you see the main people that's for this are these Edomites, man. You see who's pushing this thing at the alarming pace, man. You see those who are trying to, make this thing be a law, man, is these Edomites, man. And the Lord tells us about these unrighteous decrees that they're passing. They know that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans are going to be out here deleting each other. They know the crime rate is going to increase, but that's ultimately what these devils want anyway,
The rule would open an appropriate avenue to restore gun rights to criminals who have proven they're reformed.
Yes, we want people to have their Second Amendment rights, but having a constitutional right is not limitless.
The limitations likely to be put in place for those with violent and also dangerous backgrounds.
Limiting it to those who are nonviolent, no domestic violence involved.
Madeline Somerville, an attorney based out of Georgia, says, in addition to creating a pathway for people to own guns again, this rule will also clear up some existing restrictions and regulations.
If there were any unnecessary roadblocks on the way to someone having their rights reinstated that really didn't make sense, they're going to try to get rid of that as well.
But before a final version of the rule is issued, the public will be able to give some feedback.
There'll be an opportunity for people to comment on whether or not they think those rules are good or not.
Now, groups advocating against gun violence are pushing back here. Everytown for Gun Safety issuing a statement saying that this move throws out decades of bipartisan precedent and is laying the groundwork to put guns back into the hands of violent criminals. Reporting for the National News Desk, I'm Jeff Harris.
This shameless death.
Right. So we basically see what they just did, man. So while everybody else is out here playing and, doing things of that nature, just living their life like it's golden, man, this devil is passing laws, man, that's ultimately going to, backfire here in America. So, like I said, that was pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in today's video. Like I said, it was going to be a quick hit. Lord's will, it was edifying to you, brothers and sisters. To the next time, I'm going to say shalom.